Hello everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. Yes? Is that okay? Okay. Very good. So today I want to come to you and take you in a journey. Okay? We're going to do this together. This is a highly controversial topic, and it's also a little bit experimental. So I'm experimenting and learning this as we go along. So I don't have all the answers, but I do have, questions and, some experiments and some thoughts about how AI is reshaping design. And today, of course, I will start with, yes, okay, we are going. I want to talk to you about three main kind of personas and characteristics. We have Peter. He's a past UXer. He doesn't exist anymore. He is a $5 UXer. And some of the characteristics that he has is that he's not using AI. And I will explain you what this means. And then we have Nick. He's a new UXer, and he is AI enabled, and he's $100 UXer. And then at the end, we will have a future UXer that is AI native. Okay? So this is very much some hypothesis on how the future will look for people that are in the UX world. But before that, we need to kind of try to shift our mindset. And I want us to go in a journey together. So let's really zoom out and leave a little bit our bias. We are full of bias. And I'm a UXer from background. It's like I want to leave that behind and really think about it in a holistic way. Think about the big picture and then come down to where we are today. Okay? So if we can start that, I think it's a really good point and principle. So, and I do this thinking in two different separate ways. One is that I'm the head of design in Teatro Every, in the public sector. And I have to think about, the CEO asks me, what does AI mean in design? And I have to answer that question. And that, of course, means that I have a certain amount of constraints on what I can and cannot do now. But I also have something that I call my night job. And in my night job, it's kind of my own startup and my own work that I can do. And there the constraints are gone. I can think about UX and I can think about design totally different. So today I'll present to you the differences between my day job and my night job. And what does that mean? So first and foremost, if we are in UX or if we are in design, the main thing that we want to do is support these people, right? The users, right? So the mindset of this discussion is like, okay, how could we do this? How can we support our customers and our users in the best way possible, right? This is the question that I have. And I want, for the people that have seen me here before talking Stavanger and other ones, this is my favorite statistic. And I love this statistic because it's about 80% of global companies, they believe that they deliver excellent customer value. And this is a report by Bain & Company. And what's very interesting about this report is that when you read it through, they also show the results. And what is very interesting is that 8% of their customers agrees. Right? So there is this massive gap between 80 and 8. Right? And this is, there are various talks here today, and of course it's easy to find the blame. It was this, it was that, business doesn't understand, enablement doesn't understand, a lot of things doesn't understand. But, I think that I'm part responsible for this. As the head of design in a company that only delivers 8% of value to the customers, what am I doing wrong? And what I'm going to do to change that, okay? So I'm going to give you three standard issues, barriers to create customer value. Let's just be honest, innovation cycles are just too slow. We often don't get to the market fast enough. It takes too much time, too much effort, too much cost. Often, because it's so long, we move, goalposts move, product doesn't have any more product market fit. A lot of things can go wrong. So one of the things that I have to do is find solutions for speeding up our innovation cycles, making sure that when we invest we invest in the right cycles. Number two, R&D often lacks connection to customers. This is very normal. Happens very often. People have great ideas. They believe that they are going to sell, and they ask me to come and make it pretty, and then hope magic will happen, and it doesn't. If customer is not involved in the beginning of the process, you're very likely going to fail. You're not going to deliver the customer value. And the point is that a lot of people that make decisions, they make a decision to develop something, they hold their belief, and they don't need to talk with customers anymore. And therefore, then we go into this cycle where we deliver something that is, at best, sometimes suboptimal. Okay? So we need to fight this as well. And last but not least, projects have a new customer, have a very few customer metrics, right? When I get a project, it's time and budget is 99% of every project that we receive. And very often there is not a lot of customer metrics and how we are going to develop towards this. And this, I was thinking about this today, and I think my next talk is going to be just about how my customer should set the metrics for me. What will be the good metrics that they should set for me before I start the project, right? And I think we should push on this. So because we face these three main problems, we often are not really delivering. So we need to rethink. We're not delivering to customers, so we really need to rethink, okay, what can I do, to help this scenario? So when I often talk about AI, a lot of people talk about AI as automation. For me, when I talk about AI, I talk about acceleration. It's speed to market, it's faster development, it's getting more ideas out there, is to fail more often, to understand and to make the investment in the right ideas, the ones that we want to commit. So this was, as head of design in my day job at HelloStavanger, I want to make very clear that we do not hire at this moment any more designers that are not using AI tools. So if you see a job description coming out of HelloStavanger and you are not writing in your CV which AI tools you're not using, you're not qualified for the job. So this is an extinguishing of a role. If you are not using AI tools, you are not considered for the job. And there are some reasons for this. And this graph is a little bit hard to read. I'm sorry for this, but I have 17 designers in my team, and I track daily their activities, and this on a weekly basis. This is, at best, the output that we have. So we have 9% of their time they are passing with customers. Then they have 22% of the time in their craft, actually doing work, so like moving pixels in Figma. Then we have 16% in kind of strategic meetings, and that's more about information about the design system, accessibility, how does this into their job. Then they have about 27% in project meetings. They have 18% in coordinating meetings when I am responsible for this, so I am part of the problem. And then we have about 9% of their time in either one-to-ones or design meetings where I'm also responsible. Okay? And why is this important? This is important because the traditional UX is 31% productive, right? And this is not enough to meet the business demand that we have. And because we don't have enough of resources to meet the business demand, the quality of our product goes down, right? This is the issue that we are facing. So I want to present you these two models, and this is like on the right side you have AI-empowered workflow. This is my day job. And then on the left side you have my night job, where I'm a little bit more free and thinking a little bit more broader about what does AI mean or could mean in the future. So if we go for the AI-empowered workflow, who here, like by raising their hands, knows the double diamond? Double diamond, yes, okay. So about, I would say, 80–90% of the people do the double diamond. Okay, so what we are doing at HelloStavanger is we basically like the double diamond. It's a okay process. It works for us. We have added the first diamond that it was missing in our development process. So that's a really cool thing. And then we are, of course, on top of this double diamond, we are layering basically AI tools on top of it. And we are layering them like in specific areas of our development phase, right? So when we need to meet customer needs faster, we try to accelerate, right? And then where we need to have still a lot of human and interaction, then that keeps normal. So, and what we can see, and this is what it tries to represent, is that when we are in discovery, in the beginning, we need a lot of human interaction. But then as we move away from that, we might need less human interaction and we might need more AI interaction, okay? And this is tangible. We can feel this and we can measure this, okay? But what I want for you to have in your head, now this model is very, very simple. It's nothing more than a GPS, okay? In the old days when we had to drive cars and we didn't have a GPS, we had to stop every 5 minutes, check the road map, where are we? You know, am I lost? Do I know where I'm going? Should we consult it? And this all disappeared when we got a GPS, right? The GPS is automatically calculating for you where you should go, and is helping you along the way, you know, making sure that you feel confident where you're going, you know that there are obstacles ahead, and that you might need to take some detour, for example. So the AI-empowered workflow works very much like a GPS. It's a set direction, and he will automate some of the tasks, like reading a map, that we don't need to do it anymore manually. So with that, I'll show you two tools that we love to use, and three tools, sorry, that we love to use. Some you already know. Some of you might not know, so it's good that you have a breakthrough. The tool number one that we love to use is called Breyta, and they are based in Oslo. And they are basically repository of insights, okay? And this has been kind of, out of all the tools that we had, I convinced my design team to use this tool in about 30 seconds, okay? So this is a very common problem that happens if you're doing UX and if you're doing research, that you go out, you meet a customer, you make a report, you gather insights for your project, you allocate those insights and those reports somewhere in a fold structure, and then nobody else will read it again. Right? This is very, very normal. And what happens is if you have a team of 17, is like those insights might be valuable for somebody else doing something else in the product down the line, but they don't have access to it. And more importantly, not only they don't have access, they don't have time. So the team keeps on doing the same research over and over and over again, and then I am the only one that reads this report and said, oh, have you read the report of person X 2 years ago? No, right? So what Breyta does brilliantly is that it kind of centralizes all your research in one place. And then what happens to a designer or a UXer is that before they go out, I force them to ask all the questions inside of Breyta. And two things happen. Either they find the answer to the question, so they don't need to go out and ask the same client again the same question, or they're like, okay, it partially answers the question, but now I have a different angle to it. There is a little bit of a different approach that I want to ask the same question. And that is valuable, right? So we kind of reduced one cycle of just going and asking a standard question that already has been asked to really focus and delivering quality. So I'm going to give you just a very, very quick demo of what Breyta does, but I recommend that to try it out. So in Breyta, what you can see that I can do is that I just load a couple of meetings, and then, sorry, a couple of videos with the meeting notes, and then I just add context to this. Context is basically what am I searching for, and what should Breyta be aware. And then you can imagine that in the moment that I click, he starts giving me a list of pain points. And then there is a transcript, okay, to the questions that I had and the context. And what is very, very valuable, sorry, it was here, but yeah, I think it's not in this video. But what is very, very valuable in this moment in time is that after I have found the answer, he actually shows me a snippet of a video, right? And then I can look into a snippet of that video and understand, you know, is the context really right? Did he really answer the question that I wanted to ask? And then I can decide if I want to see the whole hour, or just the first 30 minutes, or just that section, or just that client. And now I have access to all the library of interviews of all my designers. And every day that passes by, more interviews are added, more context is added, more knowledge we gathered, more knowledge is shared. Okay? This was a very, very powerful tool for my team, and it was really easily adopted. The second one, now this is probably banal, but not a couple of years ago. Of course, Figma Make has came. It was promised to me that Figma Make was going to be delivered, I think, a year ago, and it was not. It was delayed. But now it's ongoing and working. One of the cool things that we have in Figma Make is that it also allows us to load up our design system into it, and then produces the first concepts and the first prototypes really, really quick. Again, this is maybe not for the later phases of the development where you need to be pixel perfect, but if you are in a quick discussion with your team members and you want to just show them, okay, this is what we expect that it will look like, this does the job really, really well. And this is just an example of this, right? In early phases of development, we want to create, I think it's a financial app. It creates a basic financial app and detail. And then, of course, you can style it, and you can change it fonts and colors and all of these details. And then, of course, as you finish this, you can start working in different workflows and start editing them in real time. And then after a few minutes, you will be able to have a basically functional prototype that you can use to validate with customers really early on. The quality is maybe not perfect, but at this moment in time, it does not matter, right? You don't want to have pixel perfect quality. You just want to understand, like, is this first thought valid? And you can use this with customers, or you can use this inside of the internal teams. It's very, very simple. For us, the biggest benefits and wins inside of this has been, we have empowered teams. So we have a PM, a designer, and a tech lead. Always, the three of them are the ones that make the decisions for our products. And this has helped the designers a lot. Because what used to happen before, it was absolute madness. Is that they go to a meeting, the designer says, no, you are wrong. I'll go and work on a prototype for 2 days, and then I come back and I'm going to show you how wrong you are. But in the meantime, development has happened. Decisions have been made. The impact and influence that he's having now on the project is too late. It doesn't meet anymore the demands. And now what we have is that they have their own 1-hour meeting, and that the designer, if he's challenging something that should be done inside of the project, he has to deliver a prototype on the spot inside of that hour. And then using this prototype to discuss and sharpen in which direction we should move. Okay? And last but not least, you have V0. There are V0. There's also people that we are also using Lovable. I just want to give you a quick example of V0. And V0 has now added a functionality a couple of months back that was very interesting, is that you can just upload your Figma file directly to V0, and he gives you like a first working prototype, live code. So when you're going to go and, regardless if it's discussion with inside of your team, or if it's a discussion that you're going to have with a client and you want to kind of mock up and fake a part of the product that you're doing, this helps out to have a really high quality prototype that feels functional as an MVP, right? Without a lot of effort. And here is just, I'm just going to give you this very quick example where you're just sending them a Figma file, and you just say, recreate this in UI, and then it kind of starts generating the first code. And now you have like a basic functional application. And then depends now how much time you want to spend on it, sharpening it, and so on. I have one designer that spends about an hour making a prompt, and that kind of challenges. It's like, is it really worthwhile making an hour a prompt? But I have to say, like, to make sometimes first sketches to go and talk with clients, like if it's a 1 hour investment, I'm happy with that. Okay? And this is if we go back and we start thinking about this, so this is inside of Tieto Every, the new designer, right? So this is the standard that I'm looking for, and the standard that I push on and towards the team is that we want to have somebody that is already AI enabled, right? So that's why when we're hiring and we're training and we're growing the people, we make sure that they are covered this, that they're already having some AI tools and techniques to move forward. And the reason that this is important is that if I remind you, I, of course, could approach, and we are approaching, the other areas of this pie chart of like, how do we become more efficient? How do we spend time doing more work? But what is more importantly right now for this talk is like, okay, how do we become more productive there? And this is really important, right? If we want to reduce this gap of 80 to 8, we have to become more productive, right? And we have to increase the quality. And how do we do that, okay? So what we have seen, and we did several measurements, is that the new UXer is about 40% quicker in the first prototype. So he gains back about between 40 and 50% of their time, right? And if you think about this time that is gained by him, it's not that he now goes to drink coffee. In my team, everybody's booked 120%, right? So it's not that he has free time now to do things that he loves. It's about now, it's like, okay, he can achieve a task faster, and what is then the benefit that this brings for us, right? So what we see that is happening, if we go through a development process, often a UXer will have, if they will have time to do one okay prototype or 2 or 3, that will be at max. He will do one prototype in Figma, and then he goes back and talks to the client, demos it, and so on. And then before we know it, it's already in production, and then it's out, and we'll not see it again. And often with very, very low quality. And what we are seeing now is that the ones that are using AI tools, they have this luxurious aspect that they can do multiple iterations because they are gaining about 40 or 50% of their time back. So they do spend more time making sure that the solution is more accurate, right? And this is of value for me, right? Because then I start, okay, that gap of 8% is no more there, right? We are getting closer and closer. We are trying to understand what are the customer needs, and we're actually trying and testing and prototyping and iterating until a level where we can see a high quality, right? And we can feel that this has just happened in the last year. So if this is the AI empowered workflow, and this is my day job, I want to talk to you about now something else, okay? And this something else is my night job. And this is basically an AI-driven process, right? And I use this model. It doesn't need to be this model, but this model is created by the Board of Innovation, and it's called the Stingray model. And they came out with a bang because they said it's the death of the double diamond, right? And here, who here has heard about the Stingray model? Who lift the hands? 1, 2, 3 people, right? So we have 3 people in the audience that knows about the Stingray model. And I mean, the Stingray model, if I want to really like oversimplify it, it's a lot about grabbing those tools that I talked before about it, and then compressing it into a workflow, and then making many iterations out of this, and then choosing the one that kind of gives the highest reward, right? So in this model that we have, it's a lot about, we have a scope in the beginning. We understand, okay, it's a user story. And then we start training a model. And we say, okay, this is all the data. These are all the interviews that we have got. This is all the pain points. This is our design system. This is our workflows. This is normally how we produce this. Now generate me 200 options. And then he starts generating 200 options. And I say, okay, out of these 200 options, which is the one that most likely will be successful? Then he gives you that variant. And then, of course, after you have done this, you can go the same process, and you can go to talk with users and validate if this is actually true. But the power of this is that it moves us away from actually pushing the pixel, especially in the beginning, You're not pushing the pixel anymore. You are managing AI, and AI pushes the pixels for you, and then you're just looking along multiple proposals, which is the one that you think that fits the needs. So if in the first example, I was talking about a GPS model, think about this Stingray model more like a self-driven car. Okay? I'm still in control. I enter inside of the car. I say I want to go from point A to point B. He calculates the route. He starts driving me there. I'm sitting behind the steering wheel. And then if I decide to take over, I can take over control, and I'm back in control of the car, and I can drive the car wherever I want. But if no problem is happening, and if the decisions are being made accurately, then I'm basically sitting there for the ride, right? I'm managing the AI. I'm not doing the task itself. And that's really important. So to be very clear to you guys, as always part, this is not TietoEvery. TietoEvery is not allowed to do this, okay? So this is something that I can do, because then I take control of also the risk that I bring into the organizations. But if I want to give you an example of the thing that has blown my mind the most, it's this, and it's a question about timing. Okay, so I have several clients, some big brands, and they are often trying to get product market fit. We have an idea in our R&D, and we are not sure how this idea works, but we want to validate with users if this idea is good or not good. So what I do is that I get like their R&D pipeline of projects, I put it in the software, we generate the first concepts, we put it in a marketplace, we get feedback on this marketplace, and then we figure out of these 300 ideas, for example, what is the top 10 that was really high performing. And then we say, okay, out of those 300 ideas, these 10 are really, really good, and we believe that you should invest only on these 10, not more than that. So this example that I want to give to you, it's about speed. So imagine that every time that you see a dot, it's a concept that is being created by AI. Right? And this is another one. And this is another one. Right? And this is another one. Okay? So this is just an illustration for you. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that until now, when I do this consultancy and this job at night, I am the bottleneck. Right? I'm working in evenings. There is so much work that I can do in an evening, and I'm not always able to explore all the ideas. But now I have an AI-supported model, and now he can create as many ideas as I want. In fact, sometimes I put it and I go to sleep, and then in the morning I see out of these 300 ideas, he's generated 1 million ideas, and now I'm looking through those 1 million ideas, which ones have been in the marketplace, which ones have been the ones that performed better, and then I just go and look through this list. So the point that I want to make is that I am in control. I know what is being created, but I'm not creating it myself, right? I'm allowing AI to create it for me. And this is a very basic schematics on how this would work. We just have a RAG where we kind of load all the data from the customers and all the kind of requirements that we have ahead. We have an AI-driven agent that is basically trying to generate ideas and concepts, and I just let them iterate. It's a volume game. It's not a quality game at this moment in time. It's just to see what is the best output, or so the total volume of output, and then we put it in a marketplace. Okay? And when we put it in the marketplace, then is when validation starts, and then those numbers get reduced. So I'm going to give you just a quick demo on how this works. This is an old video and an old prototype, but still examples what I want to show. So in this case, I'm just opening up a brief, and this is a brief from one client, and he wants to make an instant coffee app for China. And then this is just basically the information that is inside of the brief. We already upload the client's information in the RAG, for example, and now he's generating, for me, like 3 main agents that became part of the brief, right? And here we have like 3 agents, Sophie, Lily, and Jason. They are kind of potential users and buyers of this product. And what's very good is that I can then prompt them, say, okay, you act like Sophie Zhang, you're a digital marketing specialist, you have 25 years old, and create a tagline. The tagline is basically the concept. Like, how would you create this, and how would it materialize based on the brief that you have? And what's very interesting about this is that I can ask them to create those taglines, so the basic concepts. And then you can see that, for example, Sophie and Lily, they have two different points of view, right? And I'm going to ask each other, so I'm going to select two. Let me just select, it will be here in a minute. So we have Sophie and Lily that was being selected. And then I'm going to ask them both about that concept specifically, right? So one says, yeah, this is great. Of course, she created it. So she says it's excellent. But then Lily here, she says, well, it's okay. It's fair. It's not a great idea. I probably have a better idea. And what's very interesting about this is that now I can, okay, so Lily, explain me more about this project. And then I can go, so Sophie can explain me more about the project, about the idea. And then I can ask Lily to counter-argument, right? And this is helping me rethink the concept, right? So the concept doesn't go into production because I want it to go to production at this moment in time, but now I'm in controlling. It's a little bit like I'm in this GPS car, the self-driven car, and I'm like, I'm not sure if we're taking the best route, and I want to have some dialogue between these two people, and then understanding if I'm going to contribute and create the concept or not. In this case, I decided, okay, let's go and create a concept. And then this basically outputs to a prompt, and then this prompt gets outputted automatically to V0, and now it creates the first concept. Okay, so you can see here, it's kind of rewriting it. It was an iteration to it, and now he's now trying to answer the brief, and then they say, okay, this is the output based on the concept. Okay, this is not perfect, but at this moment in time, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's for a Chinese market, and I'm trying to still understand what it is. But I can repeat this process over and over and over and over and over again with AI, and I can go to V0 and also prompt into V0, okay, these are all the modifications that I want to be made. And at this moment in time, because I'm just looking for kind of the best product market fit, the quality is not important. Because what is very important is my first dialogue with a client, right, with a customer. So, and this kind of new approach to UX and to design is what I'm calling kind of the future UXer. So somebody that is AI native UXer. And I want to be honest, besides, so I'm trying to figure this out as I go along, so I don't have all the answers. But I have seen, I was in Krakow last month in the conference, and there is, it's in the UK, and I saw the first one. He was a speaker there, right? So he's the first AI native. And he said something was really meaningful and powerful for me. He said I forget now what is the business, but it's a business that is it's going out of business, so they have to pivot really fast. And then he says, well, whatever we were doing, I abandoned it. It doesn't work anymore. So he's the first designer or UXer that I have seen that is absolutely AI native. And he's working in a very similar model as I am. And he's basically iterating and trying to find product market fit and kind of high customer success rates on the go, right? Using AI tools to continue to produce and test the ideas at a very, very, very fast speed. And what it means is that, and it was funny because after the conference we were talking about this, that this issue is gone for him. It doesn't exist anymore. So he doesn't spend only 31% of his time actually doing craft work. He's spending much more. So now when we look at it, he's spending probably about 9% of his time with customer interactions. 60% of the time he's managing the AI in the output that he's looking for. And then he's spending the rest of the remaining time, the rest 30%, in coordination and team meetings and so on, right? So the future UXer is going to be about 70% productive. It's a big change, right? But also the profile, the technical ability, Also, his ambitions are totally different than the traditional UXer. It's a different breed of people. So I don't want to, of course, the reason that I started this conversation is like, okay, let's zoom out and see what is the problems out there, and I try to bring you now back through this constellation back to Earth, right? And what does this mean, right? This is always the question that I got. What does this mean to me? What does this mean to us? So I want to make sure that my statements are kind of super clear. You know, I design with AI technology. I think it's important that we all do. We cannot avoid it. It's here and we have today. And we can talk if it's a hype or not a hype. But internet was a hype at a certain moment in time and it's still here. So that's fine. The number two is that I design for the people. You know, so my objective is getting to the end result, right? And make sure that my customers are happy, regardless of where they are. I want to have happy customers. And then I also have to look at myself in the mirror and say, am I doing the right decisions here? Because there is a lot changing in the world. And I cannot stick with methods that were created in the beginning of the 20th century and expect different results, right? So this is very exploratory for me. I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, but I'm certain that my goal and ambition is the same, right? I want to develop for people. And last but not least, the point that I wanted to make again is that I want to be the 80%, right? It's our responsibility to meet our customer needs. And if we are not meeting the customer needs, then we should look at ourselves and say, okay, how do I change that? So I want to give some time for some feedback and maybe also for some questions. But my name is Andre, and this was the talk that I had for you guys.